Employees feel mistreated, underpaid, and as if they're enslaved by the dollar. Unfortunately, this is mostly true, with the average worker being more replaceable today than ever before. In this video, let's spend some time discussing how the gears that are keeping this system functioning are starting to become rusty and unhinged, with the people being the gears, us. And if you personally have been finding yourself enjoying my daily doomer commentaries over here on the page, then don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, opinions below, and subscribe to see my daily videos right here on the channel. And a huge shout out to the handful of you that's been checking out those links down below in the description. Those are some of the best ways to support me and the content right here. Now, let's begin this shit show.
Gen Z have no reason to believe that they're ever going to have economic security. I don't know about you, but I'm old enough that when I was in college, I thought for sure I'm going to have more money than my parents. And that if I work very, very hard, I'm going to buy a house someday. And this was the assumption. And a lot of Gen Z just saying, I'm not even sure we're all going to be alive in 20 years because of global warming. And the world is probably going to end anyway because of the stupidity of decisions your generation's made. It's just it's very, very hard.
Right.
Okay. And so I think that it comes out looking in a way that we don't understand how this sort of place of vulnerability and sadness that it's
Oh, and I wonder why we all ended up this way. Maybe it's because if you raise an entire generation or multiple generations of people having every news headline they ever see be some sort of negative notation, it's pretty much all just drama nonstop. And then, any sort of good news is just a local sale, which, by the way, we can't afford. So it's kind of just a nonstop, endless suffering. And then, as extreme as that sounds, you get slapped in the face with this, kind of like backhanded comment where it's like, well, you're an American, you're in the best country in the world, you have no right to complain. Your problems aren't even real problems. People got real problems in the world. Stop complaining. You're an American. When at the end of the day, it's like pretty much every problem that we do have here is caused by within, which is completely out of the control of the average person. So, now, I really do think it's crazy how when you, are these new adults, me, Gen Z, even the, I guess like millennials have been adults for a while, but they feel very, very similar to this Gen Z resentment towards boomers, being that now they've really been adults long enough to be like, damn, it's not necessarily the boomers' fault. It's not that every old person is the problem, but it's that if you look at who owns everything, it's all boomers. Now, it's not all the boomers, but it is a section of the boomers that we put a lot of the blame on. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a group think. I think it's just, they've been around long enough and they built a lot of the foundations that we're now sitting on. So it just happens to be that that's who's in charge, so to speak. But who knows? With time, everybody dies. So maybe the millennials will be the next boomers. I did make a video about that, and a lot of you guys did get kind of butthurt when I compared millennials to boomers, but maybe Gen Z will relate to millennials, being that we're kind of in this fuck situation together, but maybe Gen Alpha and whoever comes after that will really hate Gen Z and millennials and consider us like the boomers now. So let me know in the comments. I always love to hear it.
His name was Ron, and he was my friend. He had worked 33 years at this company, and he died on a Tuesday. He collapsed in his driveway on the way to work. Heart failure is what they said. Too many years of stress and not enough years of rest. He was supposed to retire in 6 months, y'all. Ron was a guy who never said no. He was always the first in and the last to leave. He missed every anniversary and missed every birthday. You really should have been there, Dad. The day after he died, they brought in a sheet cake from Publix. They poured warm soda into red cups. They called it a celebration of life. By Friday, somebody else was already in Ron's chair. The emails didn't stop. The meetings didn't get moved. The company didn't even pause, not even for a breath. In fact, half of the department couldn't go to his funeral because the company said we can't have that many people out at one time. Because that cake, that pop, that sad little break room moment, that was never for Ron. That was for them. A quick performance, a corporate dance, pretending you're not just another replaceable part. Ron gave him everything, y'all. They couldn't even give him a full moment of silence. And now, he's 6 feet under. You think you matter? You think loyalty really means something to a corporation? Ron thought that too. Don't wait until it takes you out before you realize that the ladder doesn't really lead upward. It leads away, away from life, away from love, away from yourself. If you know somebody named Ron, tell me in the comments. And if you got a friend living this kind of life, definitely tag them in this story. I believe it could help them.
I'm sorry if I have to be the one to break this to you. It doesn't matter how many years, decades long you've been with the company. It doesn't matter how much you've done, how much work, how much money you made them. You are just as replaceable as anybody else, even the brand new hire that you might have actually hired on the team, and you might think is not even really working out too good, you're just as replaceable as they are. And if you can't really tell, as soon as AI starts figuring out ways to do your job for you, a lot of companies are already kind of switching over to that. You've seen a lot of fast food drive-throughs switch over to AI type of, systems, as well as a lot of these online, or not even online, like phone, when you're calling to do like your pharmacy medications or to call Comcast or Amazon, a lot of that is now AI, which is somewhat hard to tell if you're not kind of younger and more hip and grew up with it. Even me, I get kind of fooled sometimes when you see some of those new AI videos. It's getting very, very good. So we're all just as replaceable as the next person, as well as everybody's struggling with money. So there's a long, long line for people wanting your job. And the better your job is, the more replaceable you are. So you might feel like the whole security that used to exist is now kind of a backhanded, not really a thing. So anyway, what do you think? Do you think you have security in your job? Do you not think there's really any security in life at all? It's kind of how I feel. Maybe just a negative connotation and take for my doomer mentality of the world, but oh well. Let me know down below.
Therapy doesn't really work if your life just genuinely sucks, and I feel like that's not talked about. That's a taboo thing to say. If you say that, then you're immediately looked at as like anti-therapy, anti-mental health. Couldn't be further from the truth. I am very much pro taking care of your mental health. I believe that a lot of people do need medications. I also think that a lot of people don't need medications and they just need a better world, but that's a whole different conversation. But the fact of the matter is you can go to as many therapy appointments as you want, but at the end of the day, you're still gonna come home to no food in your fridge. I once told my therapist how I feel about this too. Like, I once told her, like, no offense, but you can't fix my problems. My problems don't come from needing someone to talk to. My problems come from the way that the system is. She looked at me and she was like, you know what? You're right. I still want you to come here because I want you to have an hour a week that's all about you. But you're right. I can't fix those things. And it sucks. And I had asked my therapist too when I first started going to her, like, hey, I need to know your political affiliation before we continue to have any type of, even professional relationship, because I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable with someone who completely goes against my morals. And she was open with me, she told me like that she, votes with her patients in mind, that she votes for human rights, and that's all I needed to know. But it's just sad because if the patients are feeling this way, like, oh, therapy can't fix my problems because the world just fucking sucks, I'm sure that therapists are feeling that too. They're feeling the effects of not being able to help their patients, and I'm sure that's a very soul-crushing thing to go through. Real suicide prevention is housing, healthcare, food, community, love, rest, and we don't get any of that. We don't get any of it. And then we wonder why the birth rate is dropping and the suicide rate is
Now, I don't really
climbing.
like to talk about it, mostly because I'm like a young male in America. I feel like talking about like mental health is just like a boo-hoo, who cares? At least that's how I feel like in my head for myself when I hear myself talk about it. But I do want to say how I do face my own mental health struggles. I've been kind of, dealing with my own stuff. I don't really want to get into super personally and in depth into these videos. But anyway, we'll just leave it there. So I do want to say how like this is a real thing, and I've had many people, especially a lot of you guys in my live streams. I do go live every day, so some days I'm more into it, and some days I'm down, and I'm just showing myself the raw, true, authentic reality. I'm an open book. I'm honest as it can be. And a lot of you guys say, Josh, why don't you try therapy? First of all, how the hell can we afford it? We can barely even afford to live as it is, let alone why would I pay someone else to listen to my problems when they're going to be way more focused on like, damn, this dude really got to wait. Oh, this dude's really fucked up. I really can't wait till this next 28 minutes is over and I can get to lunch. And then I don't got to see him for like a whole other week. That's how I would feel if I was a therapist. And it's funny because I kind of wanted to be a therapist when I was growing up, and I grew up, and then I was like, wow, I got a lot of my own problems. I don't think I can deal with anybody else's, and even if I might snap on some people, so I don't think that's for me. So I completely abandoned that career idea. But I do want to say how it's like, I do understand how it works for you. I would love to know your thoughts, opinions, if you've tried therapy, if it has helped you out, if maybe you have a different mindset around therapy and talking to a counselor, whatever, type of, title you want to put for them, as well as if you have tried it and it did completely kind of not work for you. It was a faulty reward, which ended up just costing you money. But yeah, so what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Well, this is the end of my public service announcement, trying to let all you guys know that if you're not depressed now, you will be soon. If you still have money, they're going to take it, whether that's a charge or an expense. It'll get direct deposit out of your account. Just don't worry, they'll figure it out. Microphone died, so I'm sorry if this audio is not as good as all the video, but huge shout out to everybody who continues to support the channel. Huge shout out to everybody who's checking out those links down below in the description. Those are some of the best ways to support me and the content around here, as well as if you want to share any thoughts, opinions, feel free to share those down below. I always like reading them, and I always respond to the ones I see fit, as well as if you like stuff like this, feel free to like, subscribe to my daily videos, and feel free to stop by for my evening live streams. I do them every day. So thank you for watching. That's it for today. See ya.